that we stress, one of the philosophies of our business operation is that we're not even in the music game anymore, right? We're in an audience game. And I think this, the COVID thing has proven, is that if you can draw an audience and you could attract an audience, engage an audience, you have leverage, right? Because not only have we pivoted, but brands have pivoted as well, right? Yeah. Prior to me coming on this call, I was literally crafting an email to a friend of mine who works at an agency, a Black agency. And she recently told me that because of the disruption, something as big as Essence Festival has completely disrupted their brand strategies, right? They had, I don't know, 5 brands that were already signed on to Essence. And the point that you made about the Magnum examples, you know, these brands are hoping that these events will help them hit their bottom lines and hit their numbers and all that stuff. And now that if that goes away, how do they pivot? So it's not only the brands trying to figure it out, now it's the agencies trying to figure it out and trying to figure out how now take that money that they're afraid they're going to lose and put it into something that could help them at least deliver that audience, right? So at the end of the day, it's audience, right? So even coming out of COVID, I would recommend that everybody really take a long, hard look at how they're building their audience, how they're keeping them engaged, and how they can literally take that and sort of help to reinforce what their business is, right? So to the point of disruption, we talked about COVID disrupting our lives, and then social unrest disrupted COVID. Right. So when Walshy was saying how, you know, he had a huge audience at first and then that audience got cut in half. I know in the States, at first, everybody was really about the live virtual thing. The novelty of it was so amazing. And then when the social unrest thing happened, that became our thinking every day, every minute of the day. So I didn't care about Versus, what Versus was doing. I wasn't checking for my favorite DJ anymore because now I'm tuned into CNN. There's a protest happening, and you know, I'm talking to one of my favorite artists who want to drop a song about what's happening, right? So at the end of the day, I think the audience interest is shifting, moving around, and all these companies, these brands, these media companies are realizing that now they're running out of ways to attract the audience, right? So we had a call where this executive producer of this major TV company is saying, we're running out of content because our production company can't shoot. They can't shoot movies. They can't shoot TV shows. We're running out of content. What do you have for me? Right. So for us, now we're knee deep in trying to figure out how to make sure we master the content game. Like these guys alluded to, we have to become real content producers. And then secondarily, how do we keep the audience engaged so we can now take that audience, go back to the brands and say, let me give you an opportunity to capture some of the audience that you've lost.
All right, give thanks. Walshy, I hear you can actually unmute yourself. Really? Seriously? Like we're gonna have a clash in this moment? You're not unmuting your mic.
You want me to draw for record?
I'm going to ask Arijam to control the DJs in the
Those two DJs.
Ewan, I'm going to go to you, yes, while Walshy shifts. We're going to shift just that we've had to shift. Mr. Simpson.
Since I'm unlikely to join the clash, but I may just take up my drum and start to play, but that's a different discussion. But no, what I want to say is this. Part of the challenge with brands is that their associations in general, and a lot of it around reggae music, the association of brands with reggae music has been in a kind of a mass connection way. You don't have very many brands taking artists, taking personalities as brand ambassadors and having that carry their goodwill to the brand. Generally speaking, it's a lot of, they sponsor an event and they sponsor more often than not in products and these things. And so a lot of the times, the connection is not made with the product that the artist presents and the product of the brand. And I think what needs to happen now is that brands need to pivot in that way. They need to create a more direct association with artists, because the artists now are not going to events to be connected with them. The artists are now connecting in their own right with their own audience. So if you are not connected with an artist as a brand, then there's nothing for you. So I am branding what I'm connected to, right? That's what I am doing here. But I don't have any other brand that I need to be presenting and supporting in this conversation. I mean, Walshy is doing his thing. Seani is doing his thing. Everybody is showing what's important to them. And I'm saying brand managers have for too long been satisfied with knowing that once somebody comes to this event, I will in a default way, get my brand in front of them. Now we have to be more pointed and more specific. Now we have to go to the artists and say, bring your people to me.
Me kind of feel like Nolan probably feel like me that we could have a whole debate about that. I don't necessarily agree with everything what you want to say right now. I understand it, but I really would like for us to for you to consider before we shift to Walshy though.
Yes.
Based on how the brands are functioning, the truth is they are looking at what am I getting from these big events. We've seen the events online with all of the COVID-19 protocols, everything that's happening. So even with the live events and you have production going on, we just saw the Sagicor live on. I'm calling all these brands where we need.
I don't know why you're doing that. Because now I can't comment freely on what I thought about it.
Exactly. But that's it. When I'm a tad bit unfiltered, so forgive me. Really forgive me. I do not mean to name anyone. But hypothetically, we have an event. When you have the event, it's a virtual event and people are coming to the event. You have less people there. You have less people in the background. The brand is just going to show what's in it for them. I'd like for you, Nolan, as a marketer, to sort of explain this, because what Ewan has expressed is the opinion of a lot of industry players, and there seemed to be that little divide with the gatekeepers of sponsorship and the people in industry. But let me shift to you, Walshy, to just talk to us a little bit about...
Yeah, man, you hear me?
Yes, we're here a long time.
All right, so the main thing I wanted you guys to see about this is a Bacardi dub plate. Bacardi has sponsored Major Lazer and sponsored myself massively. Probably more than, I want to say almost anybody has actually been sponsored. We've been able to get sponsorships for other artists through our sponsorship. So we've been able to get Conscience sponsored, Masha Montano sponsored. We've been able to do amazing things with sponsorship, which we now no longer have. So that, I don't want to say that we spent the money before we had it, but we did kind of already perceive ourselves saying, yo, we're going to do our live show like this. We're going to do our advertising like this. Our marketing is going to be like this because we have this guaranteed every year. And it was 4 years that Bacardi was sponsoring. And this is just a creative sample, but anybody that knows anything about dub plates and stuff like this, all of this never cheap. None of this never cheap. So to know that that's all gone, what that is forced is what I believe is a great point to add to this build right now, which is there's something about what was happening before that I think the sheets have been pulled off of in this particular moment, which is a lot of people without the true talent and hard work were able to go ahead and get maybe even stuff like this. Now, I think we're in a place where the people who actually really have talent and work really hard.
Exposed online.
Them kill.
Exposed. You can't perform online. You are exposed.
Yeah.
You cannot hide it anymore.
Exposed.
You can't hide it anymore.
That's why
and give
like
thanks.
Tony Matt around winning right now because he's a performer.
Yeah, man. I would want to give thanks to the moderator for allowing us to all speak. Thank you. We got this. Bless. You don't have to mute us. Thank you.
We all speak at the same time.
Yeah, man. Give thanks, moderator. Man, that was rough. All right, so anyway.
Okay, naming is important. It's Coleen.
No, not moderator. Not you. May I talk who you did say was in control of the mute?
Ira Jam.
May I talk? Ira Jam. You're right. Let's hold Ira Jam. Ira Jam responsible. We're free up. We're free up.
They might mute you in a minute because I may ask them to if you and Seani B behave on yourself. We can close. We can
Rizla
actually
clash. Yeah,
close
Rizla.
out with Quaz's permission. We can close out with a clash, you know.
Yeah, man.
Ewan
Anytime.
said to me this morning, so mommy, all I'm going to do is just talk. You couldn't end with like some music or some party. So from the mouth of babes. So
Ready.
I want to go to you. We're kind of looking at the opportunities for industry, and we talk a lot about frontline, whether it's the DJs or the artists or the backing bands, but how can the behind the scene creatives like yourself survive in this era with so little live events? So I want you to speak first, and then I'd ask for everybody to chime in terms of any suggestion you have for people like Tullah and myself. Well, Nolan, you seem to be doing it. How can we level up? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I would say that any artist that's sitting back and meditating on what they're trying to do, what their next step is, you know, the setback is only a setup for them to make their comeback. So they have to make really strong connections. What I noticed about artists is that they have managers, the managers have all the contacts. Sometimes they don't keep up with their relationships. They need to go back and re-examine their relationships if they want to be able to come back into the US and have strong, be able to get their paperwork and immigration when it's ready, as soon as it's ready to come in and do work. Because those people are going to need the support, the sponsorship, experts to come and vouch for them. So they should go back and be contacting all the people that they worked with before, find out who's still in business, find out what venues are still strong, and where they have prospects for work and to come back, whether it be producers, whether it be radio personalities, whatever aspect that they're going to be working, coming here and actually meeting and performing and doing with people, meetings. So they need to really do that, because I noticed that a lot when I work with artists, some of the biggest artists, and I ask them, give me your contact list of who I'm going to go and who's going to sponsor you. They don't have that together. So they should be tightening up every aspect of their business so that they can, when it's ready to rock and roll, they're there, they're ready to walk through the door, and they don't have to, you know, depend on someone else that does their business. They can't find that person to get information. They should be collecting everything, like you said, content. Their content needs to be 100%, 110%, and it needs to be in a presentable form so that somebody can look at them and say, this artist is established, they have acclaimed works that they've been doing, they have tight connections with people that they're working with. And that, as soon as that's ready, they're going to walk through the door, because that's as much work as they need to do, I would say. So, and for me, you know, I've kind of like slowed down, but I'm just like, it's okay for me, because it gets crazy around this time when I'm trying to do things. I'm enjoying being able to not be under pressure. It's a lot of pressure to be responsible for a group of up to 20-something people, and whether they're going to get to eat or not based on your work, whether they're going to get to come or not based on your work, and with the pressure that the administration puts on and scrutinizes what you do. So I'm kind of like, well, okay, we can wait another 3 months. It's kind of nice for me, you know, but in the meantime, I just say artists, people who want to come, people who've already been coming, even if you had a visa for many years, they look at your visa fresh. They look at your content. They look at your artist profile. They want to know what you're doing is relevant to today's market. You can't, if you got some awards you got in 2003, they don't even want to see that. So those are the things that you know, anyway.
Thanks for those points, Tullah. I'd like, Nolan, I'm going right to you, because I'm looking at you as the marketing exec, and I really want to shift from artists a little bit, the frontliners, to what do people behind the scenes do? What road they do right now? You know, what are they doing? What are publicists doing? Is there still jobs for these people? And what can they do to level up?
Right. I mean, listen, you know, everyone has been completely forced to kind of pivot and find their own way, right? For me, I could only speak from the strategies that we've employed on our side. And one, we looked at what is the avenues that are not brick and mortar, and what do we have to do in order to be prepared to take advantage of those opportunities, right? And when I say not brick and mortar, meaning, it's not a physical thing, right? And what we realized very, very quickly is that this whole business of content delivery, content creation, management of content, there are almost complementary parts within that business that kind of allows you to transfer skills, right? So for example, I'm working on a live new artist platform, right? And the idea is that we have these unsigned artists who are performing their songs, and they send it in, and our editor cut it up, and he puts it together. Then we go live with it and all that stuff. Now, within that process, back in the day, we just used to, figure, hey, the digital guy can handle that, right? Nobody paid attention to it. Now, when you start thinking about treating that like a real business, now you have the audio guy that had to pivot to make sure that that file is good. We have the PR person that was only focused on taking the artists to the radio stations and getting placements and all that. Now that person is figuring out, okay, how do I get the word out on this live stream, right? We have the guy who was only thinking about, okay, I need, to find this artist a brand connection because the album is actually about to drop. Now that person is forced to reimagine how they can adjust to make sure that their skill sets can be applied to this new vertical. For us, it's really about content. We're betting on content, right? For some other people, they might have to bet on other things. But for example, our lawyer now, like my go-to lawyer, is becoming an expert at content rights and clearance, right? Like we had DJs who started doing their broadcasts on IG. A weekend, they couldn't do it anymore because IG music rights. Right. If they're suing, I can't sue you, so I'm sorry, guys, right? So everyone is going to Twitch, and then Twitch says, "Yo, sorry, you can't live here anymore," right? So there's all these new things that are happening that if we all, based on our skill sets that we had in the physical world, literally, to me, there is a complementary place for that skill set in the virtual world.
In the digital space, that's right.
Nolan.
Oh,
What I was going to say is I've found so much worth right now for new artists. It's been incredible. Like, I think as a DJ, I looked at the first week of IG where everything was happening. Everybody was doing IG lives. I thought to myself, I have nothing. Well, I have something special to add to that, but I didn't want to jump into that. Right. The second week, it ended up to be clashes. I was like, wow. I frightened of that because we only have one and two of them dub plate there. Well, she asked me to come into the clash. I said, no, I don't want no smoke. The third week, it was like interviews. Everybody turned interviewer. The fourth week, it was life stories. But for me, the worth was the young artists because a lot of these people were able to bring that content to their own platforms and didn't want to share it out to others because that's my magic. The big artist was like, no, I want to do this for myself. So I thought to myself, you know what? I have a worth because I have a channel, but I can now give this extra time as well to the young artists. So I actually started a session called the Seani B Spotlight Sessions that we did for 6 weeks. And I promise you, like there's an artist called Chinil Mior right now that's trending in Jamaica, like number 8 trending in some of the big songs. I discovered her on I-Octane's life. And I-Octane gave her that energy right there. So right now, I feel that if you are a young artist in this time and you know how to navigate through all of this and you know how to position yourself, this is your time, really and truly. Because there's so much time on our hands. We don't want to hear those same DJ mixes and lives anymore. They're going to be playing the same songs. People want to hear fresh stuff right now because people are open to so much.
Right, and I want to add to that. If it's good, like I said a minute ago, I'm going to want Tullah Sim bridge, car, already. Yeah. We're just not, we have to show our Jamaica bridge. Maypen Bridge.
Maypen Bridge.
Yeah, Maypen Bridge. So, everybody dead. But the key word, I think, is to add on to what Seani B said is, if you are good, this is a person who might, not have gotten that energy or that highlight because everybody in the world is doing their own thing. You'd have to get marketing dollars to get to see that artist that Seani B is speaking of. And then now we have a concentrated focus where everybody's looking at one thing, this, and now Seani B comes across that artist, but most importantly, that artist was good. And if you are good and you work hard and you do not stop putting that good content out, we are all going to pick up on it. And so that's the last thing I wanted to say to add to Seani B is that, yo, if you know what you're doing is amazing, now is the time. Don't wait. Don't think somebody else like a sponsor should step in. Don't look at where's my management. None of that. Take it upon yourself to put that good, whatever it is, out into the world because good stuff finds good people. So we're here for it.
Nolan, I see your hand.
Just quickly, I wanted to echo what Walshy said, right? I think there's a couple of things I would advise. Oh Lord, the man just threw up the London Bridge.
Okay, before we go any further, let's just pause for a moment and shift. Because this must be the most unruly panel I've ever had to engage with. And I love you all.
It's vibes.
Declaring that I love you all, but on unruly.
You got to put them at the back of the class. Put them at the back of the class.
I see Beach going behind Nolan, Mr. Maypen Bridge with the Jamaican colors behind Walshy, and now London Bridge is falling down. It's falling down on you, Seani B. Nolan, when you threw, I want Ewan to come in right after because I wanted him to pick up on the convo you started about content rights and clearances. You're the attorney in this mix, so I'd like for you to pick up on that immediately after.
Sure. So the point that I wanted to make was, I'm echoing what both Seani and Walshy said, right? The ability to be good and translate online is completely different from the other mediums, right? So if you look at somebody like Tory Lanez, right? Tory was a great character. His lives, those lives are so engaging. He's attracting hundreds of thousands of people doing it because he is tailor-made for the medium, right? So there are people that might be good, they might have big names, but they don't translate on the small screen. And so I want to recommend that all the reggae artists, all the Caribbean artists that are really trying it, take some time to make sure that your joint is good, right? Like on this Unplugged series, we featured Dre Island. And there was a reason why we featured Dre Island. We looked at all the reggae artists and I'm trying to figure out who we can get. Dre made the most sense because he translates well. He can sit down behind a piano. There's not a lot that he has to do to be compelling and draw someone in, but you have to take the time to make sure that you're prepared enough to translate on that small screen. The same way you and your manager would find an outfit and rehearse what you're gonna do when you show up on the morning show. It's the same thing, preparation you have to do for the small screen.
And we saw that with Versus.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks for jumping in, Seani B. Ari Jam, wanna work with me now? You see anytime Walshy and Seani B do this again, wanna just mute them for me. Please and thanks.
The energy is good.
I'm sure all our audiences understand good Jamaican, especially the ones from Clarendon. Mr. Simpson, content rights and clearances.
At the end of the day, content was always king, you know. It was just the context in which we were receiving and distributing that content, and things were able to slip through the cracks. So the management of it, the curating of the content, was not always being done this way. Now, one of the good things is that everybody can get their content out to millions of people if they do it right, and they don't need a middleman because the platforms are the middleman. But if you are using content improperly, and if you're not getting good legal advice, good technical advice as to how to distribute the content, then you find that you end up with a quick stumbling block. Good, which is what has happened to some of the DJs, because there was the understanding that it really is not okay to just play somebody's song for your own marketing and for your and for your own earning, because there are people who are making money and cash up and all sorts of things. It is just not okay to do it. You need to have the right clearances for the context, whether you're going to get it from a collecting society or you're going to have arrangements with intermediaries, or however you're going to make it happen, it is important for us to learn music rights. Because, that has been around for decades, but we have taken it for granted because we got away with it. Nobody was going to police a party, for example. Nobody was going to, you could sing any song you like, play any song you like in a context once you were hired for the party, because the promoter would have to figure that out.
Yep.
The promoter would have to get the rights. Now, you are doing it on your Mevo or on your laptop or on your computer. You have that responsibility. So, just as we're talking about publicists and so on, no, you can't get a criminal lawyer to help you with this. You have to find it, right? It's just the reality. And so, yes, you're going to need an immigration lawyer to deal with your immigration issues and your work permit issues, but you're also going to need an entertainment lawyer, an intellectual property lawyer to handle the music rights side of what you're doing. And now we're beginning to understand that as much as the world has become smaller, we have become more interdependent because you can't have all the skills. And that is one of the critical things that we must take away.
Yep.
Give thanks, Ewan. I see that we're having an attorney at law clash because raised up his hand, but he's a tad bit more polite than our DJs. You know it is. Quasi, you were raising your hand?
Yeah, I'm also an artist, you know, so I can bust out lyrics too, you know, but I'm gonna save that. But I wanted to piggyback on what Ewan was saying because I have seen an uptick in my legal practice since the quarantine because of what he said. A lot of artists are realizing now, if you want to place content, you got to own the content. That means you have to have your agreements in order. You know, I'm having a lot of people come to me to form LLCs. A lot of people coming now to finally get their producer contracts, their releases, because, you know, in our Jamaican culture, we did not deal with paper. You know, we're a handshake culture. Yes. And not even a handshake sometimes, you know, with us, yeah, man, everything good, and then problems. So I am seeing on my end a lot of independent artists now calling me, what do I need to do so I make sure I own this? I want to be able to try to get this place somewhere. I want to get this somewhere. So I think the role of the entertainment attorney has become paramount in this new digital content space. And I'll leave it there.
That's right.
Give thanks, Quasi. Walshy, I'm looking for the next, in the spirit of clash, it's about time now that you change your background. Just saying. So we keep the spirit of...
I don't have the technology.
It's not about you. It's not about anybody else, but the three in the middle of my screen. Walshy, Nolan, and Seani B. That's where it's at. Hello, you and I are kind of good. But there's something that I'm not sure if it's Walshy or Nolan said earlier on that I wanted us to speak to a little bit, and it was the mention of data, the importance of data, or I probably wrote it when one of you were speaking. And I know we have had a conversation probably late 2017 onwards about data-driven tours and using big data to inform how we do what we do. How important is that now? Seani B also mentioned, you know, just identifying different ways. Why Quasi and up in the air though?
Because
I think his background is falling.
Yeah, my background is not working me.
Oh, okay. Just checking. You.
the middle roll
So Nolan, I want to start with you. What's the importance now of data to all of what we're doing? How is this going to help us to prepare for post-COVID?
Well, data hasn't. The importance of data has not changed, right? It's always been, if I'm gonna sort of figure out who my audience is, I have to understand everything about them, their behavior, when they're consuming things, what they're consuming, what they like, what they don't like, in order for me to increase my efficiency, right? So if I could adjust my business models based on how my audience is behaving, it means I'm spending less to get to them. It means that hopefully I'm earning more. So it's really important now, right? Like, so for example, our client did a 24-hour DJ broadcast with DJs from around the world, right? Partnered with YouTube Live. I think Walshy was a part of the first one. The next time that we got ready to do that, the idea was, what's the analytics saying? Who do we program at what time? What DJs popped at what time? In what territory, right? No longer can you just move like it's a gut thing or just an experience thing, because like the times are changing from week to week, like these guys said, behaviors are changing, right? We had the social media guy gave a report in a meeting, and he said, yes, we used to post at 8 o'clock in the morning when people are on their way to work. And then I would post again around 1 o'clock when they're on lunch. Then I would post again at 5 o'clock when they're on their way home, because those were the times when the audience would sort of be tuned in, right? Now, everybody's home. So everything is disrupted. So the importance of data cannot be understated, because it's a constantly changing thing. It's our only roadmap really to real behavior. It's not just about, you know, how good our thing is going to look and how much, you know, how frequently we want to do it. Now it's, are we wasting time by doing it at the wrong time? Are we wasting time, or are we wasting money by presenting our content at a certain time? So how do we invest in learning more about our audience and all the little, and we have tools right now, right? We have basic tools right now. If you're just the average, right? You have your IG analytics, you have your Facebook analytics, all those things. I recommend that people really dive in, because that's the precursor. When you become bigger and you need bigger platforms to kind of tell you how to move, at least you will have a basic understanding of how to interpret that data.
Thank you so much. I'm reminding our audience, it's 14 minutes past 7 in Jamaica, which is 14 minutes past 8 in your space. This is actually the time when we welcome any questions, comments for our panelists. Remember, we are live on James Effect on IG, ireggaeday.com, CaliforniaRootsFestival.com, IRIJAM 360 app, the IRIJAMradio.com, IRIJAM Facebook.com, and IRIJAM 360 on YouTube. So you can send, by the way, follow me. I'm just going to do this. I'm CD Publicity. I'm new to Instagram. Can I tell you, I'm probably the youngest Instagrammer in here. Follow me.
I suspect
just so I can compete with Walshy and those kinds of people. So we have been talking a lot about what is happening, what we perceive. Are there anybody, and you all, I'd love for you all to answer, is there anyone who, or some of the young creatives or some of the young artists who have really leveled up and are examples for us to share during this time?
I think I mentioned one earlier, and that was Shino Mio, a young artist. I think she comes from Montego Bay, and I've just seen her literally on everybody's live. She's getting involved in everything, having a conversation with everybody, singing to people. And for me, she was very much one of those standout artists from what's going on online right now. And I think she has her sound is very much like Tanya Stephens, but in what's going on right now, she's really impressed me the most, and I've really loved like what she's done. And I just think just the way some of there's some kids over in the UK over here that have really got involved in like the clash culture, and you have to big them up for that. There's some guys called No Signal. I think they're broadcasting a radio station out of their bedroom. That they had a clash, which I didn't really agree with it. I think it was Wizkid versus Vibes Cartel. It kind of pitted like two different continents and genres together. But what they've created from that, and these are some kids that used to be up in the One Extra building. All of a sudden, I've heard that they got like brand sponsorship and whatever. But for me, I hear what Nolan's saying, but in a way, the data thing works, but if you can catch that temperature right now, I think that's what's the most important thing. I look at people like Wiz and these guys that do like long form interviews as well. For me, these guys, they're putting heat under my feet as a radio broadcaster. There's so many people that have turned up, and all of a sudden they've got access to artists, and they've turned into interviewers, and they are like trending hard, and they're getting some of these legends to talk about stories that I've never heard about before. And I'm scratching my head and like, damn, how did you do that? And even some of the older artists that have been hanging around, not just like the young ones. I look at somebody like Agent Sasko. All of a sudden, he's like a great interviewer to get like these great stories out of people. So I just think the way that people have diversified and caught that temperature right now, I think that's so important in this time.
How do you feel about this, Walshy?
Absolutely agree with him. Don't have anything else to add. 100% agree.
Damn, no clash.
Just like
No
that.
clash.
How about you, Tullah?
I would say something about data. Data is very important when you're trying to, back to the same old subject, present yourself to, in your artist profile. There is a section, a component for the numeration, sales, just the analytical. They want to see it all. So if you are in that, delving in that part of your business, it's important to keep up with that, because, and keep those numbers. Don't just look at them and flash them and go away. Put them somewhere on your cloud or whatever, so you can retrieve those things, because though you need to show them not just to legal people, but maybe sponsors or whatever, you know.
Can I interject something here? I wanted to, Tullah, sorry, to talk about what you've been seeing in terms of what type of venues the visa, the government, the current administration is looking at, and how that impacts reggae, some of the sound system experiences you've had.
Okay, well, so we know reggae. Reggae plays in a lot of mainstream established venues. Some of the largest, some of the artists, or some of the biggest artists are on the largest stages and festivals, etc. But we know that there's a whole side of reggae where an artist is working for an independent promoter, and an independent promoter doesn't have their own venue. They are doing a night somewhere. They're using a restaurant. They're using whatever means, the West Indian Social Club, whatever they can do to do their thing and to bring the music. That's the biggest part of our culture in reggae. However, they don't think the people who are looking at this and judging do not understand that these are not distinguished venues. And so they're holding people back based on their not having solid, verifiable venues, verifiable promoters. Then the promoters have to actually have LLCs. Like I heard somebody you say that people are starting to delve into making sure that they're very legit. So they need to really be real. Like I say, are you real in the business? Are you really real? You got to get it together in every aspect. So the government is clamping down on sound systems that are not performing, not you, Walshy, but I mean sound systems, I don't want to mention any names, but that are not performing in distinguished venues. They don't understand it. And there's not, so it's dying. It's kind of like a dying thing. So I think we have to figure that out as a group of people, what we think is important and how to support and how to, and I'd like to have some more conversations with people like about how they can be supporting the artists that need to come up here and get the Jamaican government or the Jamaican associations need to really step up. I know you probably get bombarded at JARIA and, you know, with things, but you need to step up and help these artists when they need letters and they need your backing, and to say that, yes, that should be the least in their packages.
Absolutely. But of course, one of the critical things is membership. Because if the organization is to vouch for you, then you must be a part of the organization. And that's one of the things that we are learning, actually. I find more artists are coming into an understanding that association is important. That's one of the challenges with data, by the way. And we mentioned earlier that we have a very informal kind of environment. People don't want to register. And if they're registering, you can't know what their TRN is. And because they believe somebody's going to want to tax them. And so we can't really account for each person. But then when the government is giving a care package, it wants to be identified as a member of the industry at that point in time so they can benefit. Now, we want everybody to benefit, but we are saying there is a reason why we exist at JARIA, so that you can be represented, not just to the government, but as Tullah is saying, we also need to say to the external bodies this person is legit. They are the real deal. They are who they say they are. So if we don't have a relationship with you, it's difficult for us to truthfully say that. Right. So, and we don't want to get into the situation where we are saying it just because somebody asks. And then it becomes common knowledge that, oh, JARIA will give you an endorsement. They don't have to know you. And then JARIA's endorsement loses its value. Right. So the connection and the membership and the lobbying together and all of this is very crucial, as well as helping in giving the numbers so that the government can plan, so that technocrats in the industry can plan. I mean, people like Tullah can plan better. Walshy will have a greater idea of what he's dealing with in an industry, right? I mean, we can't beat data. We can't beat data because it helps us to know what's going on. It will also help our friends in corporate to know what kind of numbers are being pulled and where they are to put their spend, because they will now understand the demographic better than just who will come to an event, but who am I reaching out to and on what platforms am I reaching them and which artists are best to carry. Because of course, there are people who will drink when they go to a party, but in this new normal, when people cannot go out or people cannot consume things publicly, there are ways for them to consume it privately, but we have to all pivot together.
Agreed. Give thanks, Ewan. Give thanks, Tullah, for those kinds of comments. How do we, as an industry, regain consumer confidence? Because personally, if I not hear about a vaccine in another year or so, I don't necessarily think I'm going to want to ever go to a live event with all these thousands of people. How do you think we're going to balance with those kinds of fears from our consuming public? Walshy, you mentioned your online situation initially. Is it that you're doing anything to see how you can, and the clash continues, but are you doing anything to see how you can increase your numbers back to 3,000 from the 1,200? Is it that people are tired? What is happening? What can we do? It's 7:25, and so I'm going to ask you to respond, and then I'm going to go around our virtual room for persons to just speak to a little bit about the vision for the music industry, reggae music in particular, post-COVID.
Yeah, man. So with my sound clash, what I will say is, Seani B touched on it earlier, where 1 week it was this, then everybody moved to this, then everybody moved to this. The last couple of weeks I've seen lots of poetry. Everybody's all a poet now. It's moved every week to something else, right? And me just had the sound clash straight through. But there was a week, which is like a year, that sound clash was what was happening. And it was the same week that Vibes Cartel versus WizKid clash happened. Every single live, everybody online was drawing for two people to do a sound clash. I think the pinnacle of that would have been Beenie Man versus Bounty Killer, of which we then, I would say, experienced clash burnout and moved on to the next thing. I am not sure what exactly I'm going to do with the clashes. I will continue to do them, but maybe I will do them once a month. Maybe I'll do them holidays. Maybe I'll do them. Maybe there has to be something bigger and more special about them to make that number jump up to something versus the weekly, of which I would then pivot and give some other form of entertainment on a more a scheduled basis. But the clashes, again, I'm not exactly sure what exactly I'm going to do or how to get those numbers up. I'm riding this, wave just like you guys are. And I'm not afraid to say I do not know. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at with that. And I hope that everyone out there can get through the fear of not knowing through this conversation by just saying, yo, just do it. Just go out there and do it. And most importantly, what Ewan said, collaboration is key. And we talk everywhere we go, we say collaboration is key. If you have a camera, I'm an artist, and that person is a producer, and so on and so on. Now is the time to put those egos way to the side and work together, form collectives, actual collectives, form collectives on paper, of course. People don't forget to yafe, you know, but form collectives, form creative collectives, and begin to put everything together with the resources that you have directly around you. We've stood at a distance from each other. We were already social distancing, and now is the time to look at everyone around you and really tap into those networks. We've talked more than we've ever during this COVID, so that's an indication of what should be happening just on these panels, but in the community as well. So hopefully everybody out there begins to understand that collaboration is king.
Give thanks, sir. Nolan, I'm throwing to you. What do we do? What do you tell Walshy to do?
I don't know if you guys hear me. I'm having a lot of trouble on my side, technically. Can you hear me?
We're hearing now.
Yeah, we hear you now.
Again, I think this is the time when experimentation can happen, right? This is the time when you have to reinvent. This is the time when you have to start looking at
Okay, Nolan, we're having some difficulty with your sound.
audiences
because we want to hear you.
I'm touching such an important point that things are pivoting. Hello?
I'm saying we're losing you, and we do want to hear you. We value what you're saying. So I'd love for you to.
You know what? I'm going to try to see if I can get to a different part of my.
All right, and so try get to a different location. We go to you, Seani B.
I think innovation is the thing, forward thinking, like what Nolan was saying, experiment with different ideas. I know that this week I'm going to be part of an enterprise that's going to be launched. I think one of the things that I've seen in the UK actually is that if you think about like driving cinemas, where people were driving to see the big screen outside, and on your part of the world, it should be able to be done so much easier than it is where I am because the weather doesn't really permit. But what I've seen is like people doing concerts where people can drive in with their car, and then everybody exit from the left, and there's a box, and that box is your social distancing space, and that's your space. So it's gone from like, you're not going to get the 2 and the 3,000s, but you're going to get 300 cars inside this parking lot. That's going to have 4 people inside there. Do the maths, that's 1,200 people. Now with that, you have to have an understanding of who you're working with, because now you have this thing called, what's your PC? And I heard about this last week, your pre-COVID price. Because your pre-COVID price is not going to be the price that you're charging right now. And you have to be realistic with that and know that you're working with brands to be able to build something that when we come out on the other side, we have an understanding of each other. And I could say, you was there for me and I was there for you. Let's continue to build. So that word, collaboration and partnership right now is so important. We have to understand that we are all in this together. That's the one thing that we have to understand. We are all in this together. The big money where Walshy them did a charge with Major Lazer with the gold speaker box and where I'm behind him, like, ball on the price, take a piece, and him have to understand. So we have ball on the price. None of us can go on like that. We're bigger than anybody, because I think it was said at the very beginning of this discussion, it's a level playing field. That big red button has been hit. Reset is on us all. And some of us have noticed that actually our worth is not that worthy. So, and then some of us have realized that, oh, my uniqueness and my oddball attitude works in this world. And those guys have become the stars. So now we really have to work with each other. And I've seen it already, and I just want to see it continue. Unity, collaboration, and partnership.
Give thanks. Ewan?
Yeah, well, I'm saying the same thing. I'm saying we need to understand that every mickle, it's a Jamaican phrase, every mickle make a muckle. And so now we're not jumping on to saying, okay, we're going to do a festival, and this festival normally pulls 80,000 people. So I don't have to do anything, I just need to show up at the festival and perform, and we're good. We need to be making connections. And those connections that we're making within the industry, with each other, as Walshy said, and as Seani B said, the connections that we're making with each other are going to put us in touch with a larger market, with larger markets, so that we can end up, for example, I can tell you, Beenie Man and Bounty Killer don't very often, if ever before, perform to 3.7 million people one time. Just don't happen. This new normal has made that possible, right? I know Walshy is accustomed to getting a lot of people listen to his music and to his productions when they happen, but his audiences are not usually 3,000 people when he's playing in a club. So we are ending up in our small spaces making these larger connections. So we need to capitalize on it. And with this level playing field, once you believe in your talent, find a way to present it well. If you're presenting from your living room or you're presenting from your studio, use the technology so the thing can look goodish. You know, pay attention to angles and to lighting and to all of these things when you're presenting your performances, so that you can still be presented in a manner that an audience will continue to want to see. Those are the little things matter. Every mickle make a muckle.
Give thanks, Ewan. We go to you, Nolan. Are you ready for us? Arijam, I think he's mute. I think you can unmute yourself. In the meantime, Tullah, your final words.
Well, I would just say that we love reggae. That's our passion. We love the music. So we're going to just keep going forward and persevering through whatever. It's not going to just dry up. We just are going to make it happen. So I'm here. I'll help anybody I can help. I've been here for 30 years trying to help folks get a bridge to here and other places. So just whatever I can do, let me know. I'll connect people. I love to connect people to make it happen. I believe in collaboration. I believe in pointing people in the right direction to connect with the right person so they can move, keep it moving. So that's what I will be doing, is keep it moving. And I'm going to be hustling every day like I normally do.
Give thanks. Nolan, you're ready with me now.
So sorry about that. I had to get to another place in the house. My Wi-Fi is bugging out right now. But I don't know how much I could add to what these guys have eloquently said, right? And, you know, I just think that really this is the time for reinvention. It's the time for stepping into lanes that might be uncomfortable for you. It means that you have to learn new skills. But I can tell you, every new skill that you have to learn, there's probably somebody in your network that's an expert on it, right? So to, you know, reiterate what you guys have said about the nature of collaboration, right? Every major company that we can sort of path their journey, we can kind of look at their journey, had to reinvent it at some point. You just have to. So you got to look at yourself and really start to figure out, what am I weak in? What do I need to strengthen? What are the new skills I need to learn? And you have to just go out there and do it, right? We have no other choice but to do it, because what's the alternative? We're gonna sink and flop? Nope. We're not that kind of people, right? Like, this is not that kind of genre, right? We're just used to reinvention. We're used to, you know, standing up and facing challenges. And I think I don't even see this as a challenge. I just see this as like a time for us to reimagine ourselves. I think we've been coasting for a minute as a genre. We've been kind of coasting, right? If it's been a bandwagonist thing, if one thing is working, everybody gonna just do that one thing. Now it's time to really start thinking about what your uniqueness and specialness is. So I would say that's my final thought.
Give thanks. Give thanks. It's a lot of points that resonated well with me. Earlier on, somebody speak about leveling up your brand at this time. You work with Prof a lot. Practice, practice, practice until you never get it wrong. That this is the time to ensure that we do that. And because I will tell you, I was very concerned about moderating in this kind of space, because I think this is kind of global. I like to be in front of people, and I'm very confident it's not being streamed. It's a small, safe space. But I had to bold up and throw some makeup on for the lighting to work. So it's all of that. It's confronting your fears.
It'll work.
So it is the time. We're going to stress innovation, collaboration, and partnership. And I want to because we've been saying, Quasi, you put up your hand?
Yes, because I wanted, before we seal up everything, Walshy said something very critical and we kind of pass over it quickly, which was he did a paid event. And I wanted to know what was the outcome, what were the challenges, because this is where the online space is headed to. You know, after a time, yes, we're going to streamline, but money have to make. So can you just talk very briefly about that experience before we seal?
Yeah, man, definitely. So first of all, I want to say I don't see too many people that have actually done any pay-per-view events. So I'm willing to help anyone out there. Any questions that anybody has, any advice, I'm readily available to help with your pay-per-view event. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress because once people pay their money now, you can't have no buffering. You can't have nobody. Everything's supposed to be nice. Right.
That's right.
So with that, you end up paying premium prices for the very, very best in a lot of the services that it takes to make sure that nothing goes wrong. Most importantly being, wait name again, terabytes, space, of which we didn't understand that bandwidth. And we used it up within the first half hour. And them liquid with a grand for more. Them charge me $1,000.
What?
So yeah, man, cause me did figure, say, yo, you know, something I'll get 100 gigabyte. And then 800 people got into the space.
Yes.
800, gone like that. So I ended up having to buy a terabyte, right? But them no one said, them set you up for that. Them say, yo, you know, I sent it to the 100, watch. Because they gave you an option to buy it for cheaper before. And then them say, all right, well, you know, so when you need, we know it, we're gonna charge you. But anyways, that was one thing that we learned on the spot. Overall, I will say that I was blessed to be able to have done 10 weeks before the pay-per-view. So a lot of the mistakes that I would have gone through, I went through already. And then when I got to pay-per-view, there were much less mistakes. Overall, great success. 800 people paid their money to see 2 sound systems that the world did not know. No one knew who these sound systems were. We built the story around these sound systems. If you're going to do a pay-per-view event, I ask you, what is your story? If I'm going to buy a ticket to a movie, I want to know why I'm going to watch it. Is it sci-fi? Is it horror? All right, I'm into that. There's a story there that I'm already into. And we spent 10 weeks building that story. Don't think you can just throw that at people without doing almost like promoter work, where you're a trusted promoter, somebody that they believe will deliver good entertainment. And therefore, now they are ready to give you their $5, $10, or $20. And that's exactly what, consistency. Good consistency on a level. And that's what I think I provided for 10 weeks, which allowed me to get 800 people, which I believe 800 people is an amazing amount of people to pay money to see an
even
online
to go to a clash. Even to go to a clash.
In our real life, that's
right,
like,
that's
wow.
a lot of people.
Yeah, man.
What did you charge?
We started at $5. And then we went to $7, and then we went to $10. And believe it or not, I didn't understand this, but then again, I say, you know, I saw dance house there. Yeah. The most people bought their ticket when?
On the night.
Last minute.
No change.
No change. 1 hour before we went live, the email burn up. Boom, 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 boom. And we'll say, 300 mash people buy them ticket last minute. My Grammy something wrong there, don't ramp with me.
No, you want a Grammy clash? We could have a Grammy clash.
We are in the middle of making such an important point that we can share with people about an adaptable monetization strategy. And in the middle of this...
Oh, Seani B is a god. But yeah, man, so what I would like to say, is yes, definitely. There are ways to do this, but now more than ever, people know when you give them some bandul or something.
Yeah.
So please invest in whatever it is that you're thinking about selling. Spend the time like a promoter would, like a marketer would. Build the audience's trust into what you're doing. Mm-hmm. When you even hint to the idea, for say, you know, so I'm going to charge the money for the next one, the audience is already saying, yo, don't even worry about it. $5, $10, yo, that's easy. Cause we see that you give us something that we like. And so I think that that's the main point about this is I was able to make some money, but I had to spend a lot of weeks, 2 months, 2 or 3 months exactly, investing in. So we could say I broke even then, right? To gain the confidence to get people to purchase into what I was doing. But I will say, people are not fooled as we think they are, or as they were PC, as I take that word into my vocabulary. Now we're going to see people will understand energy, they will understand temperature, like Shawnee said, and they will know when something is good and when it is not. And if you are thinking about doing a pay-per-view, ensure that you're doing something that is of quality and that is good and that will not rob the people of their time and money.
Yep. Give thanks for sharing that particular strategy. This is what it is about. I am going to recall Professor X Nettleford, who said that the creative imagination offers us a particular level of freedom of expression and self-fulfillment on a personal and collective level. We're reimagining, building the reggae maker in a post-COVID world. We want to give thanks for our discussants. You were wonderful. You probably were so engaging. I forget a lot of what I planned to say or questions to ask. Nolan Baynes, you get the reward for the most well-behaved panelist. next to Tullah Carter. Thank you, Tullah. It's good to see you again.
Definitely. Thank you.
Ewan Simpson was on good behavior today. He's representing for a lot of people. Thank you for joining us. And I'm saving my two wonderful DJs, Walshy.
He's looking for a Grammy thing. He's looking for some Grammy thing.
Him have gold boxes behind him though.
No, let me tell you why you can't win this clash. This one right here. Because I know Major Lazer have Wally per Grammy. But today is International Reggae Day. This is for the best reggae album of Morgan Heritage from 2016. you have a Grammy for your reggae album?
At this point, I'm going to invite you and Major. I hope you're all prepared to take us out with some music.
You know, so me never prepare. Hold on there.
The clash after all in a go on with. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been my pleasure. My name is Coleen Douglas. Like I say, you may follow me on IG and Twitter, CD Publicity. There's one very lovely gentleman who did it in the middle of the show. I like you. I knew I liked you. Give thanks, Kwasi and the JMC crew. Give thanks to Ira Jam Radio, Cali Roots Fest. Thanks for all the partners. International Reggae Day founder, Andrea Davis. My child is asking me if I'm live. I have been live, ma'am. Please don't disturb this live. Yes, I'm live now, Kenya. We give thanks. We go back to, it's 7:45. We're going to go home before curfew hits in Jamaica. Nobody not take me out with some music?
Let me have some music, but as I shown us said this, I'm a picture with me at the Grammy. But anyway, let me
let me see.
You know the thing, make a rhythm play right away. Hey, what you know? Hey, for me now. Hey, one ship, I want the fire. Love cold. The guns come in by the boat load. Juvenile, them a boat love road. I'm in fear, them not come home. Hold them down, let them in the so-so.
He's out. I don't know if you can hear what I've got. Let me hear. Can you hear that? Is it playing?
No,
This feel like the Emperor's new clothes.
Reggae music.
We can't hear
it. Can't hear it?
No, you're loud.
Oh, no, it's not up. It's not up. It's not up. Because it's playing from my laptop. So you win that part there.
Yeah.
You win. You deserve a trip to Jamaica. We'll see you next week. Well, 2 weeks after you come.
And I, on behalf of the JMC, I want to thank everyone. Coleen, as usual, you are masterful. I want to thank everyone for being a part of this. This is just the first virtual summit that we'll be doing. We are going to be bringing a lot more of these, and we'll be partnering with different platforms to bring the education, because whatever.
But the people love you, hear that? Yes, indeed.
What's going on? You figure out your sound. Okay.
Yes,
but
indeed.
Whatever's going to happen, we know that education is going to be a critical component. And as JMC, our mission is to connect the dots and to educate our people so that we can compete in the global music industry. We are a cultural superpower, Jamaica, and we want to harness that cultural superpower energy so that we can raise the standard of living of our people and thereby also bring that one love culture to the entire world. Big up team that is behind the scenes that have also helped make this happen. Big up Irie Jam, Bobby, Lou, all of the Irie Jam crew, the Cali Roots family, that Tullah helped to make that bridge, and we'll be doing a lot more work with the Cali Roots family, bridging between the white reggae and the thing, because it's all the reggae of Jamaica. So we're on a mission. Walshy was a 2020 panelist. Nolan was a 2020 panelist. Seani B was a 2020 panelist. Coleen was the host and a presenter. Ewan and JARIA were sponsors. So this is a family and a network, and this is a reimagining of the Jamaica music industry that you see happening right now. We're done with the little petty thing, the little thing, and we're coming together to tackle these 7 billion people in the world that are searching for our culture. So I'm on seal.
Blessings.
Give thanks.
They know you. They know me. Christopher Ellis alongside Seani B. Yes, Seani. You got dancehall upon reggae day, Walshy? How you for do that? How you for do that? You're lucky, you know, it's a split track. Oh God. You're lucky. I just get the fresh Chris Ellis dub.
One sound. Oh, what?
Just get the fresh Chris Ellis dub. It don't even mix off yet. You're lucky. Bless up, people. Listen, it's been beautiful. I love this. Trust me. Early morning in England, you know, 10 to 2. Oh,
that's right.
Tell me where you come from, Chronics, boy.
Washing up this.
Don't let me open. You want to open up the laptop?
Who there?
Are we gonna go? I'm not home yet.
I'm always a baby, wrap up in a nappy. Me never ever like to see me mommy and a
Will!
You're not ready yet.
I can't tell it.
I'm opening up the laptop.
Real sound man ever ready. I am not ready.
I'm not. I came to talk today.
I mean, always ready. Me know, if not go bicycle ride, I'm ready.
You're lucky today, you know, Walshy. You get me with that one.
We're going to arrange something because there is some tension here, I see.
Yes,
this needs to be pay-per-view. This needs to be pay-per-view.
Here on the streets of London, JAUK, the whole world, because we is called Rastafari. This is the original Chronics from Spanish Town. Peace. And everybody
Chronics.
You got that song?
Chronics.
You said Chronics Town. You said Chronics Town. It's after midnight, so today is not reggae day in England.
You tell me, say me can't go dance hall and then you go dance hall.
No, because it's after hours in the UK, bruv.
Yeah, but you just tell me, say me can't go dance hall.
The original Chronics along
Listen
with
this.
Walshy Fire. Easy. Second and peace. Walshy Fire. Hey, can you hear me when I say, put the light in the air, lighters in the air. If you know your heart feel like how it's.
What's your daughter? Hey. Big forward. Big forward. You don't want to go Chronics for Chronics with me, brother.
I don't.
We can't hear Google Trust. If somebody play that, then we done.
I tell Walshy, me not play dub like that. me play Grammy music.
I do want to say to everybody, if you like that, the energy is always good. Sound Clash, Jamaican culture, it's one of the most, it's the most hilarious, fun moments that you can see competitiveness on a musical level. Yo, check out my Sunday, every Sunday, 2 o'clock New York time on Major Lazer YouTube.
Cool. Can we do a shameless plug? All on the way they're foreign, everybody who in the reggae industry, you can still become a member of the Jamaica Reggae Industry Association, okay?
Correct. You should.
And Walshy and Seani B gonna be our ambassadors.
Absolutely.
In NYC
and London respectively.
Exactly. Give thanks.
Blessings.
I have far to go.
Take everybody.
Blessings.
Thank you.
It was fun. Bless up, Nolan. Bless up you and bless up Colette. Bless up Tullah.
Blessings. This has been such a great information. So give thanks.
God bless you guys. God bless.
Hey, this is Shirley Ralph inviting you to join me Saturdays at 6 p.m. on iRejam 360, iRejam.com, and all their social media.
It is Wednesday, July 1st. Welcome to CGN News. Digicel will suspend all paid advertising on Facebook platforms for this month as it joins a growing number of global brands taking a stand against hate speech online. The company wants to send a strong message to Facebook and force it into affirmative action against those who would use its platforms to spark and spread negative, damaging, and violent messaging. Major brands like Unilever, Starbucks, Levi's, and Coca-Cola are among nearly 200 firms pausing advertising on the social network, wiping out billions in Facebook's market value. In an attempt to defuse the advertiser boycott, Facebook said it will give priority to original news reporting to divert attention from spam, clickbait, and specious articles. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service on Tuesday said they foiled a well-orchestrated plan to destabilize the Twin Island Republic. 72 people have been arrested. Protesters blocked roads and fired gunshots, demanding that the officers involved in the deaths of 3 men last Saturday by police be brought to justice. The 3 men have since been identified as Noel Diamond, Joel Jacobs, and Israel Clinton from the Morvant area. Residents compared the deaths of the 3 men to the murder of George Floyd. National Security Minister Stuart Young demanded that criminal elements who are using the opportunity to stir up the protest to end their actions. Young also confirmed that the security forces had detained Fuad Abu Bakr, the son of the Muslim leader Yazin Abu Bakr, who in 1990 had staged an unsuccessful coup there. Heads of government of CARICOM will host a special conference on Friday, July 3, which will see Prime Minister Mia Mottley handing over the reins to incoming chairman, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. During her tenure as CARICOM chair, Prime Minister Mottley hosted the 31st Intersessional Conference and held a number of meetings to map out a strategy to deal with the COVID-19 crisis. She also facilitated a meeting between CARICOM heads of government and representatives from leading cruise lines to discuss matters of mutual interest. The relationship fostered during this meeting allowed the community to openly share concerns about the impact of COVID-19 on the cruise industry in the Caribbean. Dr. Hubert Minnis, Prime Minister of Bahamas, has strongly urged citizens against non-essential travel to countries where COVID-19 cases are spiking, including the United States. Minnis made the call during a national address and implored citizens to stay home. The Prime Minister's plea comes as the Bahamas reopens the borders today for the first time since closing in March owing to the COVID-19 outbreak. Overseas now, Ethiopian musician Hachalu Hundeza was shot and killed on Monday, and his death sparked a protest in Addis Ababa. The singer died Monday in an attack by unidentified gunmen. Hundeza was a popular voice in protests by the Oromo, Ethiopia's biggest ethnic group. He protested for reforms in the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front that led to the rise of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Ali in 2018. Ethiopians on social media, including the country's ambassador to Washington, expressed their shock at the killing of the beloved musician. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday extended free food grain distribution for approximately 800 million people till the end of November. In his address, Modi said during the monsoon season, most of the work happens in the agricultural sector. The measure will cost his government 900 billion Indian rupees, about $11.9 billion. Police in Italy have confiscated a huge shipment of 14 metric tons of amphetamines, which they say was produced by ISIS in Syria. Guardia di Finanza Financial Police said officers tracked 3 suspect containers to the port of Salerno in southern Italy and found 84 million pills with a market value of 1 billion euros inside. Investigators said the bust is the largest drug haul in the world in terms of both value and quantity. Hong Kong is now facing a new reality. China's central government has imposed a sweeping national security law that critics say has stripped the city of its autonomy and civil and social freedoms. The law cements Beijing's authoritarian rule over the territory. Hundreds turned out to protest the legislation in the busy shopping district of Causeway Bay, but were met with a heavy security presence. Riot police fired pepper spray into the crowd, dispersed protesters, and deployed water cannons. The new law came into effect on July 1, the 23rd anniversary of the handover of Hong Kong from British rule to China, and dramatically broadens the powers of local and mainland authorities to investigate, prosecute, and punish dissenters. Zimbabwe is facing a hunger crisis. More than 7 million people, half of Zimbabwe's population, were facing food shortages or hunger before the coronavirus outbreak in the country, according to the World Food Programme, the WFP. Samantha Murozoki is ensuring that people in her community are getting fed in a country where hunger is rampant. According to Murozoki, what began as a desire to feed a neighbor who had gone to bed hungry at the start of the lockdown has grown into a community feeding scheme that attracts more than 2,000 people daily. Initially, she funded the project out of her own pocket, but the community soon started to contribute to sustain the project, and she traded some of her own items too. Murozoki said it took her less than 2 weeks to get to 867 to queue in front of her home. She bartered jeans, sneakers, jackets for maize, cooking oil, salt, and labor. The 35-year-old lawyer and mother of 2 has since become a national heroine and says her life has changed. That's it for CGN News. I'm Scott Wilson. Thanks for watching.